Now, when I said Lindsay, I meant to say the, what is it? Not flax. What is it called?
Flax and
Flax, uh-huh. Did you grow flax on your place?
no, not, they did before I got up in the size, but after I got up,
To where you'd worked in it?
no, they didn't have any flax. But now that mother has a little wheel here yet that my mother spun her flax on.
Is that
And
right?
that was all before I could remember, and I couldn't remember anything about the flax. They grew
Mm-hmm.
one crop and had it in the barn. I saw that. That's all. I never did see any flax growing evening. But you see, she'd buy a bale of cotton out of the store, Hank's,
Mm-hmm.
half a yard in each hank. Well, she'd just color that, the color she wanted it, and make the warp for the pieces. And then the filling, you see, was the yarn, and she'd take, and take that then for summer dresses, us girls, she'd take that cotton, and color it in the color she wanted to. Weave us dresses, to wear in the summertime. Now that was our work dresses in summer was what she wore.
She must have been an industrious, smart
Oh, and
woman.
she's strong, and she could share all them old big sheep,
Did she share them herself?
share 'em herself, take sheep shares and share 'em herself. I've held old sheep heads down. You could tie the feet, but if they raised their head, they could jump off of she'd have a scaffold lay the sheep on. She'd lay 'em up there and share 'em, put some of us young'uns to hold the head down. And she'd have me down holding them old sheep's head. Lord, that just killed me to hold them old sheep's head down there till she'd share 'em. And she'd share that drove of sheep in one day. There's about 20, I guess, of 'em. And she'd take her sheep share and share 'em in one day, and then she'd wash that wool, swapped it then for yarn, you see, to weave with.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's the way we lived.
There's a lot of swapping going on. Instead of selling it, they exchanged
Just
it.
exchange, just
No money passed hands.
no.
Did how in the world did a lazy woman get by?
Well, I'll tell you, a lazy woman that just about starved and went about naked and about froze. That is the way of it. But we had plenty to eat, plenty to wear, and kept good. Yeah. See, I was born in a log house.
You were.
Yeah, and stayed there till I was 4 years old. When I was 4 years old, they built a frame. My daddy got a sawmill, and they built a framed house, a 5 rooms framed house. Well, then, you see, we had a way to keep, he had 3 chimneys, 3 big rock chimneys built in his house.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a way, and plenty of wood, saw wood, build big fires. We had plenty of good warm heat in her. And that's one thing my daddy did try to have, was to have good beds. He managed to have us all, they had 9 beds in the house.
9 beds.
9 beds. And my oldest brother, he got to be a carpenter. He made bedsteads, and we had all nice bedsteads. Well, he had springs put on all of our beds, but they didn't have mattresses then. We used straw ticks, and then mother had our big gang of geese. We had feather beds, then put on top of those straw sticks, and that made good soft beds. And I'll tell you our quilts now, I'll tell you how they was padded. They bedded wool. They'd take wool and bat it and put them bats, 2 doubles of that bat over in the quilts, and that was the quilt padding. See, we had warm quilts to sleep under, about 2 of those quilts, and then she'd weave blankets, wool blankets,
Really?
and about 2 of those quilts and a blanket about to keep us warm of a night.
Well, that's nothing warmer than wool.
Yeah, and so we had plenty of heat, fire heat and warm beds too.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad was pretty stingy, but now he looked out for the
Looked
bed.
after the family. uh, after, now, did they have a school close enough where you could go to school?
I was 10 years old when I knew 2 letters from my book when I was 10 years old.
Is that right?
And they had a school, An old man Harmon, Calvin Harmon they called him. I told some of them, the old feller's so old he couldn't see, hear, nor smell. I just made that much of it. But now and he was about a mile and a half or 2 miles up that Beach Creek down. I was 10 year old. I went up there to school and knew 2 letters in my book. I knew L and W. That's what education I had 10 years old. And so I learned my letters. I wasn't long learning my letters. I learned to spell. Well, I got set again, school. Right there, that's schooling. I just got set again schooling. I never have got over that, and I never will as long as I live. There's one girl now, this teacher, he had a niece that lived close to the school. She had a daughter went to school. Well, she's older than me, getting up big enough she was wanting to court. Well, the teacher's grandson was going to school to him. Well, we had the school was in an old log house. Our seats was log split open, and hewed flat and 4 legs put in them, That was the seats they had set on. Well, and when we left school of the evening, we come down it off the road, the main road of the schoolhouse was right smart bit. We had a path that went down to the main road. Well, there's a big high fence across that path. Well, I crossed the fence, got over, hit the snow and the icy. Well, I got over and I walked away and was standing there. Well, this girl, she hopped up on the fence, and the teacher, now his grandson, he just got over the fence behind me. He was standing on the ground, and she was wanting to court this grandson. She called on him to help her off the fence. Well, he took over her hand, helped her over the fence. When he got her off the fence, he didn't hold her up. He just let loose of her, and here she went spread out on that ice, and hurt her face, and I know it hurt her bad. Well, the teacher, now he'd gone on down to the main road. Now we was going down the path. You see, the main road, he'd gone on down to the main road. Well, she went on down, and there's a little boy. Now he'd crossed the fence in front of us. He's 10 steps, good 10 steps below the rest of us. And she went on down to where the teacher, she called him Uncle Calvin. They all called him Uncle Calvin because he was her mother's uncle. And she was kind of a pet. She went down the road where that teacher was, crying. He says, "What's the matter?" She says, "Old Planter shoved me off the fence and hurt me." And you know what that teacher done? He just took his knife, he walked out to a white birch, he cut him 2 switches. He says, "Old Planter, I put up with your meanness just as long as I'm a-going to." He come back and he beat that poor little boy. I wouldn't have beat a horse like he fit. I know that little boy's back was black, for he beat him with two white birch switches. And that just set me again. I never did have any love for that girl. It's wrong to hate anybody. But I don't know, some way or another, it just set me again. That teacher and that girl, seen that little boy whipped and beat like that over a pack of lies. I just couldn't understand it. I never did like school after that. Because that young one, just think now, the young ones would lie like that in school. My mother always taught me to be truthful. And think now about a young one to grind. And I told them after that, my mother taught me to be truthful and honest. If I'd have saw a teacher went to whip a kid, if I could told a lie and have saved him from getting whipped, I'd have told a lie to save him. I honestly would. I just had to see that boy beat up that way so bad, and it just hurt me so bad. I don't know, and I never did get over that.
Well, some teachers did whip too hard, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
It turned a lot of children against school
And
back in those days.
she undertook it to more children the other day, and she's going to run them, and they just fought their way through. The next day, their daddy come with a shotgun. The boys, he settled the whole bunch of them. She'd run the school. If it had been that man, he went in with a shotgun, and they all got scared, and everything quieted down. She'd run the school now. There's a line in the school.
Mm-hmm.
I told them she'd run the she's going to run the guys. Well, I had three or four brothers in school, me, you know. Then she'd have tried to run the Harmon.
Yeah.
And there'd been no school there in a little while. She'd ruined it, but that fellow went in with the shotgun. That settled everything.
That settled it. I guess he'd had enough, don't you?
He got all he wanted.
Well, how long did you have school? 3 months out of the year?
2 months.
2 months.
2 months in the wintertime, after the corn and everything was gathered in for winter. Then they had 2 months school.
Well,
Yeah. And
now this was before the days of box suppers and things like that.
oh yeah, long. And then they finally took this 1 year school money and built them a little frame house then, and built a chimney in it, you know, and had a fire in that. And two of my brothers got so they could teach school, they got education. One of my brothers taught there then most of the time now, and I was talking about that Mr. Glenn, you know, the little boy that was left. I went to school with him. Now he taught there in that schoolhouse. But
A teacher does make the difference, doesn't
and
it?
they had desks, you know, them little logs, we had that on the seat. But you know, when they built the new schoolhouse, they made desks, you know, a place to put the books.
Oh yeah. Did when you sat on the little log seats, was that a log schoolhouse too? Was the house made out of logs?
Yeah, it was log schoolhouse.
Did it get cold in there?
Well, you know, they had a lot of wood, plenty of timber around. The boys there would carry wood. We'd have a big fire all day, and they had a chimney, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd have a big fire in the chimney, and we'd keep warm enough.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd let the bigger children, you know, sit on the back seat, and the little ones sit in the front.
Mm-hmm. Did the boys sit on one side and the girls on the
No,
other?
they just sit anyway they wouldn't sit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one. And now after they got the better school, you know, the boys sit on one side.
And
But
the girls.
then, you know, they just all sit together.
Well, school systems changed a lot over this past 100 years, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
you sure did. It sure has changed a lot.
What'd you take your lunch in a little?
Yeah, we just pack our lunch, you know, and take it with us every day. And now this teacher, now I told you about him being so old. He taught my daddy when my daddy was a little boy.
Oh, really?
You know, he is getting old,
Yeah.
and he boarded my daddy. He was a good 1.5 or 2 miles from the schoolhouse, but now he was just plumb old and tottery. I don't know how he made it, but he boarded at my daddy's, and he paid 55 cents a meal for his board there at my daddy's.
5 cents.
Yeah, that was what he paid, and he got $20 a month for teaching.
Well, he had a little money left over. I could
He
pay
had
his
a
board.
little, not
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah, we pack us a lunch, you know, and take with us every day. And we got back home then. Mother, she'd have her supper, you know, and cornbread baked and plenty of milk and butter and stuff like that. We had plenty to eat. That's one thing we didn't like for. We always had, and you see the teachers, when the teacher boarded, they always boarded at my daddy's.
It wasn't too difficult to get hired girls then to come in and help you, was it?
No, my sisters both married, and mother got sick when they had to have a hard girl. See, I was so small I couldn't do much. I could milk, you know, and do work like that, but when it come to real washing, I could help about the washing, but they had to have somebody. Well, there was a boy now, this boy now, that girl, helped that girl over the fence, he was staying at my daddy's, and he had a sister, and her daddy was dead, and her mother, I think, sort of bad, but she just had to sort of stay around anywhere she could. He went and brought his sister there, and she stayed there, and her and one of my brothers got married.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well,
And so we had the hard girl, and then her sister come and stayed with us a lot. She had a younger sister. She come and stayed with us a lot. And when she left, then I just had to manage myself then till I got married. We didn't have any more hard girls then till I got married. And then Mother had to hire another girl.
Well, now how many girls? Now you told me, was it 6 boys and 3 girls?
3 girls
That she raised out of the 12.
out of the 12.
Well. It was pretty busy. Farm life was pretty busy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's busy. We had to work, but still, we didn't suffer, you know. We had plenty to eat, plenty to wear, and good beds to sleep in. And
It's a good life, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, when dark come, we'd lay down and sleep. There was no noise, nothing to bother us. We made it all right.
I'm sure you did. The family life was a close-knit thing, wasn't it, in those
Yeah,
days?
it was. Yeah, you know, now, the way us children is raised, you know, Dad, he didn't allow us children to fuss. He wouldn't let us quarrel and fuss or argue at all. He'd just whip us.
Is that right? He kept peace, huh?
Him and Mother both told us that he says, now you children not going to fuss any and fight. And my 2 youngest brothers, my youngest brother, baby brother, he is awful peaceable little feller. But the boy older than him, man, now there's one boy between me and the younger boy. And he was kind of, when that boy got killed, they just petted 2 youngest boys, you know, they just about ruined them by petting them when that one got killed. Well, they petted them a lot, and it just took with him, but the younger boy, it didn't hurt him, that petting. And he wanted to kind of fuss on the younger boy. And when we get out away from Dad, you know, we get to fussing. If my other younger boy, younger than me, he gets picking on that little boy. Well, I wouldn't stand for that. I'd whip him then every time. I wouldn't let him fight the little boy. I'd take his part. And my youngest brother, now I have a niece in Fort Worth, Texas now, Martha Roundtree. He said he's naming her after his special sister. He took me to be his special sister because I fight for him. But now we had to get away from Dad and Mother to fuss and fight. We didn't want to fuss and fighting around them.
Well, when you were little like that, did you help pick berries and go out in the field and pick berries?
Well, we didn't pick, you know, we had so many apples, peaches and things like that, you know. And you know, they never canned anything then. It was all dried foods.
Oh, yeah.
No, you know, we never canned anything. And Mother had a dry place she dried peaches, apples, plums, and anything we had that way. And, you know, they'd string up pumpkin overhead, a dry pumpkin.
Is that right?
See, nothing canned. It all had to be dried, everything. And she'd dry apples every year. We'd have plenty of dried apples. I don't think apples sauce was off of her table. She had plenty of apples. We had big orchard, early apples, late apples, keep apples all winter. We had fruit all winter. And when the first fruit give out, she had a dried fruit, and she kept applesauce on the table. I don't think it's ever off the table, but she had applesauce, dried apples or fresh apples one. And that was her pies, mostly. It was apple pies. We'd bake a lot of apple pies.
How old was your mother when she died?
She's 81.
81.
Yeah. Yeah, she died sudden. She didn't live but a little while. She always craved so much to not be any trouble. She never wanted to live to be any trouble. Well, she called them in the night and told them her side was hurting. And they called, she went downstairs. My daddy died, they moved her to my brother's, built her little house there. And the weekend, she went to stay a week with one of her other sons. And a Saturday morning, she went to Saturday. Well, the next Saturday morning, she called them, she went there and stayed all the week. And she never wanted to be without work. You know, she done a lot of knitting with knitting needles. She wanted something to work at. They got knitting needles, and she knit my brother some socks that week, and out of yarn, you know. Well, Saturday morning, she called them. She was sleeping upstairs and told them their side was hurting her. And she come down, and my brother asked her if she wanted him to go after the doctor. She says, I won't need any doctor tomorrow. And he said, that he told his wife, he says, his wife is named Martha. He says, Martha, go fix me some breakfast, make me some warm coffee. I'm going to eat some breakfast, and I'm going to go in after the doctor. And he said he thought he'd lay down and rest now till his wife got breakfast ready. And he hadn't more than got in the bed. Mother's sitting there, Martha sat in her chair, and she saw there's something wrong with it, and she called John to come in, and John said he run in and told him to come and help her get his mother in the bed, and he went in to help her in the bed, and they got her in the bed. His wife said to him, he says, she's breathing yet, and he said that he didn't realize she was a-dying till she said that. And when she said that, he said he just got out of the house as quick as he could. He was about to have a blackout when he realized she was dying, and that was the last of it. She says, Lord, have mercy on me. I'll soon be out of this troublesome world. That's the last word she spoke. And she's gone. And she always craved never be any trouble now. That's the way she went.
Well,
yeah.
So she was what she called, she was never what she called trouble, was she?
No.
No, she didn't want to be waited on.
I know, I was talking to my niece's husband here when he was down here last week about, you know, my brother, his wife was my youngest brother's daughter, about how my mother took care of her children. He's talking about dancing. I told him my mother never allowed no dancing in her home. The people, I told him what set her against it. People, the neighbors around them, sort of rowdy people, some of them, you know, and she didn't allow any of that in her family. Everything had to go straight in her family. She went to church, and she practiced what she preached. And so the folks around there, they'd have big dances and get drunk and just cut all kinds of shine. And their mother, well, she supposed anything like that. She didn't let us children go about anything like that.
Did the girls drink did the girls drink too, or just the boys?
I don't know what they done. Of course, you know, they just done the most anything or any way now. That's the way I decided to women like that.
Yeah.
You know, that, of course, that happened before. I didn't know too much about that, but, you know, I didn't want to know anything about it because Mother didn't allow any of it with us. She kept us children at home, kept us at work, and she tried to teach us right, and we had to go that way with her teaching. I told them I'd been accused of stealing, but I never stole a thing in my life. My mother told me and told all of us children, if we ever stole anything, she'd whip us several steps of the way back and make us take it and give it back to the owner. She learned us not to steal and not to lie and be, you know, normal.
Well, that's of course, it paid off in your case real well. Did they make a lot of liquor in those days?
Well, some of them did. Now, Dad didn't allow much of it around him. Much of it got around him. He soon scattered it. He'd take a drink of whiskey for that cough, but he didn't.
Wasn't a drinking man.
He didn't allow any drinking around him.
Mm-hmm.
One feller come in there. He got the drinking and slashing around as a boy there from Tennessee, staying there. He was a dangerous boy, and he knocked him down. He went to the house and got the gun. And if my brother hadn't got away from him, he'd have killed him. He'd have shot him. And my daddy, he told him, he says, now, I'm not going to have anything that around here. He says, you're going to have to stop that drinking around here. He just put a stop to it right now. If it hadn't been my brother and that boy that got that gun, he knocked him down. He'd have shot him. He was dangerous.
The brother wouldn't let him go out and shot.
No, he got
man.
the gun away from him.
Uh-huh.
And my dad just told him, Boys, he never come back there drinking anymore.
Uh, uh, well, I don't know. Let's see. This was in the early 1900s. We're talking about now. Did they have revenue agents, revenuers to go out and look for steals in those days?
Well, I guess, yeah, in his violation of the law, they had government steal. They called them
You
government.
could get a permit to.
But you know, there was no such a thing as a government. They called them government steals, but there was no such a thing as a government steal. There's all blockade steals, every one of them. Now, my brother-in-law, my sister married a Reese, and he had to steal.
Reese.
A Reese. My sister married a Reese. And he had to steal. Now, she told me all about the stealing, you know. That's all the still house I was ever in, was my brother-in-law. You know, I was just a little bitty kid when my sister was married. And so she told me how they managed that. They had a man to go, that government steal. They'd get a man that was a little crooked. They call them storekeepers. He'd go and weigh out so much meal. That was all they had to make whisk out of, you know. Well, my sister told me with what meal the government allowed them, they wouldn't make 1 penny of stealing. And that man, he would turn his back when he weighed the meal out to make that whiskey. He'd turn his back, walk off. When he turned his back, the stealer would double that amount of meal, and they could make a little selling whiskey that way. And they call it government steal, but it wasn't a thing in the world but a blockade steal. You know now, because they were just taking that meal, you know, and the government were thinking they's weighing it out to them. And my sister, she told me about it.
Yeah.
And that's how come me to know it.
Well, I know you had to get a permit, didn't you, to make it?
Yeah. They had to get a permit from the government, you know, and the government set them down there to weigh out but now that's the kind of men they had now, you know, to weigh that meal out. And they weighed it all out, but you see, when they turned their back, you see, they doubled it, and there'd have been no government steals if they'd been honest.
Oh, yeah.
Because they couldn't have made anything. They couldn't have made anything. There wouldn't have been no steal.
Well, did they sell the liquor to the government after they made it then?
Sell it to anybody anybody that went in and bought it, they'd sell it for so much, and anybody that'd go in, want a gallon, 2 gallons, pint, gill, or whatever they wanted, they'd buy it and pay them right there to steal for it.
I see.
That's the way it's sold.
Did they have to turn any of it back into the government for the meal?
No, they just bought they had to buy.
Oh, they bought the meal. They didn't
where
get
they
it.
steal. They had to buy their own corn. You see, they raise it. A lot of them would raise corn, you know, but they had to furnish everything that way themselves. And see, the government thought now, you know, they would let them make over, and it wouldn't be so much whiskey. But now that's the way now that government was ruined. Ruled, and my sister now, nobody, of course, everybody didn't know that, but my sister told me all about it. That's how come me to know about it.
Yeah. Well, for all your seasons, there seemed to be some work that had to be done, didn't it? For the seasons, like in the springtime, you had to get your ground ready for your farming.
Oh, sure.
And then in the summertime, it was hoeing and taking care of, and then the harvest time. And then in the wintertime, you had to quilt and do everything that you sewing, didn't you?
Yeah, it worked like that.
So they say a woman's work's never done.
No, they're not. So my mother, she'd weave and make suits of clothes for all the boys, make dresses for, of course, when I was little, she'd make me dresses quick as I got big enough. I could make a dress, I'd make my dresses myself. She'd make all the boys, during the summer, after she got her weaving done, she'd make them all suits. Well, then, She'd knit every feller 2 pair of socks and stockings when she got that suits made. In the wintertime, she'd set knits, and the boys, men folks that had to be out on the farm, she'd knit them 2 pair of wool socks now, every one of them, the first ones. And then the little fellers, they had the lace socks, and stockings.
They didn't have to be out.
They didn't have to be out in the cold. And I know my little brother got killed. She knit him 2 pair of socks.